Hello, my name is Ian Lane, and in this video, I will be discussing my final presentation for History 111, the summer section. My topic was the end of World War One and the Treaty of Versailles and how it made World War Two inevitable. So there are five main points to the Treaty of Versailles, mainly how it affected Germany. So first, we have the demilitarization of Germany. Germany was not allowed to have an air force. It was not allowed to have tanks. Germany was forced to reduce its military size to only 100,000 troops. And it also had to demilitarize the Rhinelands. The Rhineland was an area in Germany right on the border with France. This was so that Germany could not easily invade France as they had in World War One. The second point was that Germany lost 13% of its territories, and some sources that I've seen say between 10 to 12% of its overall population. It lost territory in France, in Belgium. It lost all of its African colonies were split up between the Allied forces, and it also lost territory in Poland. In France, one of the main territories it lost was Alsace and Lorraine. Alsace and Lorraine had approximately 1.9 million people at the end of the war, so this is a large chunk of territory that was lost. Technically, Alsace and Lorraine was originally French, that Germany had won in a previous war, but it was given back to France. Germany also had to pay an unspecified amount of war reparations to the Allied forces. In total, this ended up coming out to around 132 billion gold mark, which I will discuss later on in this presentation. The League of Nations was formed as part of the Treaty of Versailles. It was one of the first articles forming the League of Nations. Germany was not a part of the League of Nations when it was first formed. And finally, Germany was held solely responsible for the beginning of World War One, even though historically we know that World War One started due to the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, uh, and Germany was not really responsible for it. The Allied forces held Germany responsible for it anyways. So, the loss of territory and how it contributed to World War Two. One of Hitler's primary goals, as stated to the German people, was restoring lost land by the Treaty of Versailles. Um, not only restoring lost land, but also creating more land. Lebensraum, I believe is how it's pronounced, is the term for like living space. Germany really wanted to pursue more and more land for their quote unquote Aryan race, their perfect race as they saw it, which was promoted by the Treaty of Versailles. Many of the German people felt slighted by the treaty and the Allied forces with all the loss of territory. And so when Hitler and other um, political leaders stepped forward and promoted the idea of Lebensraum and getting the lost territory back, many of the German people supported it. Um, Austria was annexed by Germany on March 12th in 1938. Um, Austria was pretty ethnically German. Hitler also was from Austria, which was a large part of the annexation. But also, many Germans and many Austrians felt as if they were better off being combined into one territory, anyways. So that's why Germany annexed Austria. The Sudetenland, which is a part of Czechoslovakia, was also annexed by Germany on October 1st in 1938. The Sudetenland was given to Hitler through the appeasement of the Allied forces. Um, Great Britain, France, and Italy all got together and met with Czechoslovakian leaders and pretty much told the Czechs to give Hitler the land that they wanted. This is known as appeasement. Where the Allied forces just kind of gave Hitler what they wanted. Hitler, in turn, promised that he would not seek and try to get any more land. However, this was a lie. The Sudetenland was sought after by Hitler because it held many ethnic Germans. I think it was about 3 million. people. And so the German people largely supported this as they had lost so many people by the Treaty of Versailles, such as Alsace and Lorraine. And so they saw this as a way of getting their people back. As you can see here on this left picture, the bottom left of this top portion shows the Alsace and Lorraine portion that was given back to France. There's also part of Belgium right there that was given to them. And then over on the right of this picture, you can see the Polish corridor, which I'm going to discuss later. The Polish corridor was annexed by Poland, which separated two parts of Germany. The bottom left of this picture show the African colonies that were given up by Germany. Now, this picture on the right shows the territories gained by Germany before the beginning of World War II. As a result of the Treaty of Versailles, you can see Austria in purple down here. This is the land that was annexed by Germany. The Sudetenland in green was also annexed by Germany. In 1939, Germany actually occupied all of Czechoslovakia. And then here on the right is the Polish corridor again, which I'm going to now discuss. So the Polish corridor was a part of Germany that was given to Poland directly under the Treaty of Versailles. This separated, which was once East Prussia, but is still part of Germany, from the rest of the mainland Germany. Uh, this portion of land was a major sticking point for the invasion of Poland. A quote from Hitler during a speech, translated in English, of course, says Danzig was and is a German city. Corridor was and is German. Both these territories owe their cultural development exclusively to the German people. Danzig was separated from us. The corridor was annexed by Poland. As in other German territories of the East, all German minorities living there have been ill-treated in the most distressing manner. More than 100 million people of German blood had, in the year 1919 and 1920, leave their homeland. So again, if you look in this picture, Danzig is this little territory right here on the Baltic Sea, right in the middle between the two parts of Germany. So Hitler used this corridor to gain support from the German people to invade Poland. This speech was given directly after Germany had staged a Polish bombing as an excuse to invade Poland. Now, some people would argue that this was not the beginning of World War II, as the Allied forces had not actually declared war on Poland. This was just Germany invading Poland, Poland defending itself, and then Russia invading Poland from the other side. So even though some people would argue this isn't the beginning of World War II, this was a testing ground for the German army and their new Blitzkrieg tactics. Without this, the invasion of France later on might not have gone as it did. There could have been some differences in that. Whoops. So this really was a turning point for them and testing. And it actually would have been the start of the war if France and Britain had actually declared war on them. The appeasement of giving the Sudetenland to Hitler in 1938 was not what they had in mind for Poland. France and Britain had actually put their foot down and said that uh, they would go to war if Hitler invaded Poland. However, they never actually did that. They never actually claimed war. They imposed tariffs and embargoes, but that really did nothing to stop them. The other territory that was lost by the Treaty of Versailles in France and Belgium was regained at the start of World War II when Germany inevitably invaded France. And so not only did Germany gain all of their territory back, but they also gained extra territory as well, which is a direct cause from the Treaty of Versailles. The next point that I want to talk about that led inevitably to World War II was the war reparations that Germany had to pay back to the Allied forces. Um, as I mentioned before, the Treaty of Versailles forced Germany to end up paying 132 billion gold marks, which in today's money is worth more than $500 billion. And this was a massive undergoing. This pretty much at the time was seen as impossible. It ended up taking 91 years for Germany to pay back. This was obviously also after the Second World War, after the Great Depression. Um, but even at the time, this was an insurmountable number, and so many people just felt as if it was hopeless. And this was the point, as the Allied forces didn't want Germany to gain any more power and economic power. So this was the intent, but obviously it really the German people suffered because of this. The massive debt, as well as a volatile economy right after the war, had led many Germans to believe that it would be better not to pay the war reparations at all, including Hitler. While the economy did stabilize in the 1920s, the Great Depression, even though it's largely seen here in the United States as the Great Depression in the United States, it affected all of Europe too. And so even though Germany's economy did regain some traction in the 1920s, it did not stay that way for very long. And so the volatile economy, as well as the massive war debt that just seemed insurmountable to pay, was um, not suitable for the German people. They did not want that at all. So Hitler seemed like a good option for the German people to try to regain their economy and their strength back. Another inevitability that led to World War II was the League of Nations and its inevitable failure. The new League of Nations was set up in the first article of the Treaty of Versailles and establish a coalition of nations to help ensure that peace lasts um, throughout war, um, throughout Europe. This league was initially created and promoted largely by Woodrow Wilson, the President of the United States. However, the United States Senate did not approve of being in the league as they wanted to maintain their isolationist status, and they did that all the way up until World War II. And so without the United States and a large military backing, the League of Nations didn't really have a whole lot of power. This picture on the top right, it kind of shows some of the leagues, the people in dark blue, such as Canada, Australia, India, Great Britain. These were the nations that were founded the coalition. However, as you can see here, a lot of these nations wouldn't really have much effect um, in doing much in Europe. South Africa and Australia and some of these Latin American countries, they're not going to really have much effect or say in what happens in Europe. It really was just between France, Great Britain, Portugal, and maybe Norway and Sweden. Um, Not much else, unfortunately. And so, with little power, when Hitler came to power in the 1930s and started demanding the Sudetenland, the League did nothing to stop him. And some of the key members of the League, such as France, Britain, and Italy, agreed themselves outside of the League and told Czechoslovakia to give Hitler what he wanted. And so the lack of power within the League of Nations helped embolden Hitler to continue his press for more territory and his belief that the other European nations were weak. This also continued when the League of Nations did nothing. When Hitler recreated the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, and began to increase his military size above the 100,000 people agreed upon in the treaty. And when he began to remilitarize the Rhineland, it was pretty obvious that um, Germany probably had some intentions of invading France, but the League of Nations didn't do anything to stop him. This failure directly led to World War II, I believe, as if they had done something, if there was some power behind the League of Nations, they could have stopped Hitler or at least delayed him in his quest for power. So now I want to talk about inevitability versus possibility. While it is completely agreed upon that the Treaty of Versailles did have negative consequences that at least led to World War II, it is not well agreed upon whether the treaty made World War II inevitable. Now, I'm going to argue, as I have argued through this presentation, yes, the Treaty of Versailles did make the Second World War inevitable, as well as just simply the end of World War One. It did make it inevitable. So the abdication of the Kaiser at the end of the war made a power vacuum in Germany. Now, the abdication of the Kaiser was not a result of the Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles was um, signed a year after the abdication. The Kaiser abdicated because of the turning of the war. However, this was an important part of leading to the power vacuum that led in Germany, as before the Chancellor, which had a lot of power in Germany, was only chosen by the Kaiser himself. However, with the abdication, the Chancellor had um, a lot more power, and people also had power. And so, even though Hitler was not granted the chancellor position by the people, they were able to grant him some power, which inevitably led him to take the position of chancellor, um, or really to just simply lead Germany. And so the power vacuum led by the abdication, as well as the harsh penalties imposed by the Treaty of Versailles, led to the rise of many extremist parties vying for power within Germany, including the Nazi Party. Even if the Nazi Party did not take hold as they did, it's entirely possible that other extremist groups, there was some communist parties within Germany, would have also probably led to another war. Maybe it wouldn't have been as devastating. Maybe some things would have changed, but I do believe that the rise of extremist parties within Germany would have led to some sort of conflict. The treaty's harsh punishment, like territory loss and a massive war reparations, led the German people to have negative views of the treaty and the Allied powers, as well as the war guilt that was imposed, as I stated back in the first slide, that when the Allies put all of the blame on the war to World War One, it gave the German people some war guilt, even though it really wasn't them that started the war. So this, mixed in with the lack of the power of the League of Nations, allowed for quick militarization, um, and with another world war being the most enticing way to deal with all these problems, it really did make it inevitable. While each of these problems may have individually not led inevitably to the World War, all of them combined, I believe, did. The treaty also affected Hitler himself, as he was a German soldier in World War One. He was extremely patriotic and hated the fact that Germany surrendered at all. And so this, mixed in with the harsh provisions of the Treaty of Versailles, would have led Hitler to his extremist goals and views that he had, which was another inevitability that led to World War II. And these are my sources. And thank you.